Red Corner Boxing. We're in the game.
Yes, good evening. It's Mr. Neutral here, and welcome to Red Corner Boxing's special edition of Hard Talk. And tonight's episode is titled "Has AJ Sold Out Boxing?" Before we get into it, just have to give my sponsors a quick shout out, and that's to EasyStorage.com for all your local and nationwide needs, and of course Boxing Fight Zone for your apparel and boxing merchandise. The links are in the bio. Just give them a quick look. There may be a discount or two. Right, thanks for that to them. Welcome, gentlemen. Glad to have us all-star panel of guests tonight. We got Brett the Boxer Man, an Englishman abroad in Canada, all the way there. Thank you, Brett, for joining us. JJ Solomon for the Spit Bucket broadcast. Absolutely stoked to have you here tonight. Thank you, sir. And the one and only Blunt and Boxing, Twitter X's space maestro with all the hot topics from across the pond there. Welcome, gentlemen. Well, obviously, you've all had the news today. Yeah, no problem, man. Absolutely stoked. We've all had that news today. We've all seen it. Judgment Day spelt wrongly, by the way. Very poor editing there. And it's Jake versus Joshua, December the 19th in Miami on Netflix. First and foremost, let me show you some pictures that we've got of Twitter. They're especially from the UK sort of reaction points, if the producer can just throw them up into us there. Reportedly, AJ and Jake Paul will share a pot of £140 million. That's roughly $185 million put up by Netflix. But if we can get to some of the reactions from the public, and we'll see some of these tweets that have come out. There's talkers. You just have to laugh, don't you? There's other examples as well. It's a genuine fight from Sam Jones. Real fight. I hope it's Jake's people team actually realise the potential consequences for Paul. This isn't a 70-year-old Mike Tyson or a Tommy Fury. This is a legit top 5 heavyweight in the world, a very recent former unified heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua, who hits like a mule. That Mr. Sam Jones there, and there's some other ones. Ranging from, I don't think Joshua needs the money to, so it's very negative, as we can see here. Boxing's finished if they're allowing this sort of thing. And there's Anthony Joshua's reaction. He's local, man. He sort of thinks, well, you're presenting me with this. Can you blame me and all the rest of it? And then you've got Jake Paul. When you see this sort of reaction from him, when I beat Anthony Joshua, every doubt disappears, and no one can deny me the opportunity to fight for a world title. Well, first and foremost, shocked and appalled was my first reaction. But however, I have been, like you gentlemen, soaking in the reactions, even from the professional media, as we like to call the mainstream media. Steve Bunce, as we all know him over in the UK, the sanctimonious are having a great night. The truth is, any fighter above lightweight would sell their granny for a payday against Jake Paul, and their agents, promoters, and managers and trainers would make the sale as smooth as possible. It's not the apocalypse. It's good business. Well, okay then. Well, let's talk about these negatives, gentlemen. We'll start off with you, Brett. You're an Englishman abroad. We are as a nation, as a colonial nation. I just have to get that one in. But can we give the Americans the idea of what Brits would immediately think of this, and especially yourself and what you think now?
Yeah, I thought there was something going off in my family to wake up to about 120 text messages this morning. So this is how the Brits are taking it. So that was British people texting me. But at the end of the day, we are a nation of moaners, and we are a nation of putting our stars down as well. Having said that, we're going to talk about the negatives now and also the positives. But having said that, this fight on paper, without knowing the overall facts, and I know the facts have started to come out a little bit, it's like, what is he doing? He's a joke. He's making a mockery of the sport. He's a two-time former unified heavyweight champion of the world, Olympic gold medalist, and he's entertaining a guy that's never had a fight with a real boxer apart from Tyson Fury's brother. And so I can see why a nation would go, how much money do you need, Jay? Having said that, there's other facets that we'll probably talk about, but that's probably everybody's first reaction.
Yes. And as you've seen, quite a few of the reactions was saying things like boxing has gone down the drain, AJ has sold out boxing, hence the title of this show. And it's not our thoughts here, it's just a question mark after that. Let's ask the questions. Has AJ sold out boxing? JJ Solomon, Spit Bucket Broadcast, absolutely stoked to have you here, mate. The fabulous work in the USA. Congratulations. Great interview with Regis Progress there last week. Absolutely enjoyed that. Give us your reaction when you first heard the news, and what is you think the American audience are going to take from this?
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to unpack because let's be honest, Jake Paul has gotten to the point where anytime we hear his name, we're ready for what circus is attached to it, right? In terms of him being a boxer, and I want to preface this by saying everything I say about Jake Paul today is Jake Paul the boxer, not the promoter who's doing great things for women's division or women's sport. Look, the negatives here is Anthony Joshua is one of our cherished greats in the past decade, 10, 15 years, right? And now he's laying in bed with the guy who is ruining boxing, making a mockery of the sport. You have folks like us who are the purists, who don't want to let go of the past. I see the business decision, man. I see it. But it's like boxing has become sports, for lack of better words, the whore of sports. You come here, you sleep with us, you do what you want, you take advantage of us. It's a terrible look for one of our icons to be fighting a YouTuber, especially when he's a fill-in for a lightweight. And the whole thing just feels disgusting. It feels bad. I understand the dollar piece of it, but at what point? You asked how Americans are accepting. Obviously, there's the boxing fans who know who Anthony Joshua is. Believe it or not, guys, there's still a lot of people in the United States who don't know who Anthony Joshua is just because boxing isn't what it was. So in the office today, it turned into, oh, who's Jake Paul beating up next? They don't know who Anthony Joshua is. So, dude, I'm at a loss of words. I'm almost tired of talking about Jake Paul. There is some positive out of this, though. I just think, though, when there's other names, when you've got up-and-comers, when you've got old guys who are there willing to still fight, why are we doing this with Jake Paul? It's a lot to unpack, and I was probably rambling. I'm sorry, Mr. Neutral, if I'm rambling. It's a lot to unpack. It just feels icky. Best way to put it.
Yeah. So you're not impressed. I mean, you're part of new media. You got a very good first-hand view, especially with you going to events and that. And quite, I'm the same ilk. I think he's an obstacle in boxing. That he's playing with divisions. First it was a lightweight, and now and I shudder to say this, to think that Anthony Joshua is a replacement fighter for a Jake Paul fight.
The more I talk about it's crazy, man.
Absolutely crazy. Let me welcome in Blunts and Boxing. Twitter X is Maestro, as I said before. Welcome, Blunts. You've had the space before on X, and you've obviously had a head start on us here talking with you, your audience. Great space. You had some wonderful and diverse opinions on this. So tell me what you got is the flavor of the opinions from your side.
Oh, thank you, Neutral and Jam. I appreciate you both. So having the space earlier, a vast majority of it sounded like, oddly, which most of the guys I was talking to were for the most part American, were actually impressed with the decision of fighting Anthony Joshua. I think what we are forgetting is the first person that Jake Paul actually reached out to and had a deal with was Canelo. And then after that subsequently fell apart, he goes to Tank Davis, the second probably, biggest pay-per-view star in North America. That falls apart. And now he's going to the third biggest seller in boxing, at least for the last decade, in Anthony Joshua, which, if you really look at it on paper, is viably a much more dangerous opponent than Tank Davis. So it's almost like a catch-22 of, like, for boxing purists, we're over it, and we would have rather seen him fight Zerto at cruiserweight, the actual weight class that he had been campaigning at. But he's fighting Anthony Joshua, the former two-time unified heavyweight champion, and the dude that all of us hardcores have been watching for the past decade plus. So it's just like there's a bit of weird sentiment when it comes to it, because for us hardcores, I think we're left with the feeling of, is this the end of Anthony Joshua? Is this his goodbye to the sport of boxing? Because now we're talking about two circus fights that he's taken place with, done.
Yep.
So it's to me, it's more of, I'm wondering, is Anthony Joshua finally done? Is this it?
And I want to just add what Blunt was saying, and it's respectable, right? Honestly, if this was the announcement a month ago, 2 months ago, I think a lot of Jake Paul naysayers would say, wow. But exactly what you outlined, Blunt, when you said first he went to Canelo, then he went to Tank, and then he went to Joshua. Look, we already have a process for lining up the next fight, and that kind of proved what you said, Neutral, about him playing with the divisions, like just knocking on the door saying, who's your biggest seller? Can I fight you? It doesn't matter what division. It doesn't matter rankings. It doesn't matter anything in it. And that, I think, is the problem with me. I can't speak for you, gentlemen, but it's just making a mockery of the process, of the events, of the fighters that are already waiting in line. So, yeah, salute to the payday. Salute to the gentlemen. They're getting their money, but it's just making a mockery of the entire sport, man. And we're in a tough situation right now, because I mean we can get all the eyeballs, we can use all the eyeballs we can get, but damn, at what cost?
Do you think Joshua's been obviously been shunned by the public, by the fan base when he got knocked out in front of 90,000 at Wembley? Do you think it's almost a big FU from him too, as to say, wow, they're gonna put 70 million in my bank, and you lot love me 1 minute and you hate me the next? So I'm going to make an easy 70 million back. I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just no. Carl was saying earlier, I was doing something with Last Bell Boxing, and he said Joshua's statement is very, very blunt and to the point. It's almost like a FU to the boxing world.
And I get that. Yeah. Go. And I don't know if I'm interrupting you, Blunt or Neutral, but I mean, it is. But at some point, man, these fighters have to think about themselves, right? Yeah, they have an obligation. Yeah, they're entertainers. We're the ones who put we put our hard-earned money up for their fights. But AJ got turned on, and yeah, at some point I get it. He's saying I've made myself available. I've poured my heart and soul to this sport for the fans, and it's not like he just went in there and got knocked out by Dubois. He was fighting a decent fight, and that's something else we need to remember when talking about the Jake Paul predictions. It's not like Dubois just ran through him. This is still a very capable Anthony Joshua. So I don't know what the hell, if this thing is legit, if this is nothing under the table, I don't see how we're even talking about predictions. I mean, this shouldn't even be. Yeah, like what are we doing?
Yeah,
maybe there's no better way. Maybe there's no better way to get the public's favor again than knocking out Jake Paul.
100%.
Because everybody would love it.
Yeah, that is a carrot. I mean, but I need to focus again on these negatives. As you gentlemen have quite rightly said, for various reasons, this fight is it can't win in anything other than viewership. Because if AG wins by knockout, it's embarrassing for him.
Facts.
If he loses by knockout, it's the end of the world. If he doesn't knock out Jake Paul, it's embarrassing. Either way, AJ cannot win here. All he can do is collect a vast amount of money, and then if any of them scenarios happen, he's not going to be taken as seriously before if he wants to continue.
But remember,
being,
Mr. Neutral,
a bona fide, legitimate champion. On you go, Brett.
No, sorry, mate, to cut you off. I thought you were done. Remember that everyone kicked off about Mayweather taking on McGregor, right? I know it's not the same, but hear me out. But when was the last time any of us spoke about Mayweather, about that fight? Now, if he runs through him, which he's going to in 2 rounds, the only way that we ever come back to this fight is if he lasts longer than 2 rounds.
Facts.
It's the only way we'll ever come back to this. No one will talk about this in Joshua's legacy, and this is why he's probably sticking his fingers up to say whatever. Because he's been sat with Turkey all week with a plan, with a comeback plan. And then this 70 million's been landed on his doorstep. He's been told he's allowed 10-ounce gloves, right? He's been told he's allowed 10-ounce gloves. My only thing is with it is, behind the scenes, what JJ said, behind the scenes, is there an agreement? Don't hit me in the face.
Yeah.
Or everything to the body, but don't hit me in the face. I don't know, because it's like suicide. If a real Anthony Joshua is going to hit him, it's suicide.
And you have to wonder, why are they taking the fight? So I hate that this is a professional boxing match that's getting professionally sanctioned, and all of us are sitting here saying, well, if it's legit, like it shouldn't even have that. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, we have to question its legitimacy. And that's the biggest problem with Jake Paul. We all know what should happen in this fight, but none of us are going to put money on it because why? We know that there's a gigantic legitimacy doubt in this thing, man. And that's the biggest, the biggest, like, this shouldn't even be a conversation. Anthony Joshua, guys, versus Jake Paul. So it's wild to me, man. It's wild to me.
Shocked and appalled is the title of my tweet this morning. And I still stand by it. I'm still shocked. And I'm appalled for a number of reasons. And one of them reasons is probably the biggest negative on this fight is the very high risk of harm or damage to Jake Paul. Seen lots of tweets there today accusing AJ already if he goes past round 1, its effects, because he shouldn't survive 3 minutes with Anthony Joshua. And is there a legitimate fear that AJ could seriously hurt Jake Paul? Let's go to you, Blunts.
I think in my opinion, in this fight, if he can't finish him within 2, it's a spit in the face of Francis Ngannou, because it's almost like when you saw the fight against Francis, AJ went in there with no respect towards Francis's striking skills as a former UFC heavyweight champion and argued as one of the biggest punchers in all of combat sports. We saw how AJ came into that. So actually now that we think about something like that, what if AJ does allow it to go past 2? Then I think the writing on the wall is exactly as purists are going to say, this was a fixed fight. That's just the reality of it. And can Jake Paul really get hurt? Yes, anybody can get hurt in the fucking boxing ring, pardon my language, or in just the gym. So it's just, in all reality, he's stepping his level of competition up real high from, who he has fought in the past. He's literally fighting low-level contenders, UFC fighters, and now he's fighting a former unified heavyweight champion who's not just that, a knockout artist. there's a very high probability we see him get really, really knocked out pretty bad, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ngannou takes kicks. Sorry, go to JJ. I was just going to say Ngannou takes kicks to the head.
I'll get you this.
Yeah. To answer the question, obviously, go ahead, Neutral. Yeah.
I'm just laughing at Brett there saying, you know, because Ngannou's like naturally 30 pound heavier, 40 pound heavier than Jake Paul, and you know he's been a boxer and a fighter all his life, you know, and he can take an AJ punch.
Yeah,
you know,
and it was just simple footwork.
Simple footwork, which Jake Paul, bless his heart, he's tried hard to, you know, deliver this image that he is a boxer, but he's anything but. I'm sorry to say, you know,
and it could backfire. Backfire, massively backfire.
100%, man. And so going back to what you were asking, can he get hurt? And then, you know, listen, I respect Jake Paul can make millions of dollars doing whatever the hell he wants. He could get online and sell pictures of his damn feet if he wanted to and make a lot of money. But so I respect him for choosing this life. He still has to go through the camps. Sparring is not fun. He still has to go through that to make this money. So I respect that element. But man, let's not be naive and silly, and let's not feed the audience that we have lies. This is not a good matchup. Can Jake Paul get hurt? Absolutely. But here's the bright side. This is a heavyweight match, and more than likely it'll be a one-hitter quitter. I would be worried if Jake Paul taking a sustained beating for 10 or 12 rounds or whatever. It's going to be 8 rounds. The bright side for Jake Paul is if he does get connected on, it should be a one-shot deal, and he shouldn't take a sustained beating for the night. That's the silver lining in terms of medical and health perspective.
Now, that's an interesting question I want to pose to Brett. Brett, you just heard there, Gigi said, could be a one-punch deal. Indulge me. What if AJ says to himself, nah, I'm going to take you 6, maybe 5, 6, 7 rounds, and I'm going to punish you for 7 rounds, and then I'm going to end you. Would people appreciate that strategy?
Wow, what a take that is! What, completely embarrassing him, and then when he decides, get him out of there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that adds to the pantomime, the theater, the circus, and everything else that we've got going on with this. I'm just saying this right now, and let's all pray. Let's all pray that everybody comes out safe of any boxing match. Sure. Specifically this, because this could be a real bad look for the sport. Because I'm telling you now, like Blunt said, if he connects with that same shot he hit Ngannou with, there's serious repercussions to his life. Sure. Because Ngannou didn't come up through the Disney Channel. Ngannou came up through the streets.
Facts.
Ngannou came through the streets and has had to fight every day of his life, right? And
Preach.
He folded him. So part of me does hope AJ ends it with a body shot, breaks his ribs, and just smashes his body to bits and just folds him down. Because I would hate to think if a fully landing clean backhand from AJ hits him, it's going to be a real bad look for the sport. Because I think you hit it on the head, Mr. Neutral. Sorry to rant on it, but I've been at it all day now. But if he knocks him out cold like that, I don't think the crowd's going to be like screaming. Yeah, I think the crowd's going to go silent. It's going to be like, holy shit, that is
yeah, it's going to be an anticlimax. You know, I've seen too many boxing matches with tragedy in it, you know, whether on my television or afterwards hearing the news of boxers, you know, who have succumbed to injuries and passed. And any boxing fan would be a liar if they know AJ and what he's capable of. That a horrid thought didn't go through their head at some point about the news of this fight, because it had to, because you know what AJ's capable of. Jake Paul, have you seen the size of him compared to AJ? It's like Floyd Mayweather stood next to, you know, somebody who's 6'2".
It'd be like Tank fighting Jake Paul.
Exactly. This is a complete and utter turnaround. to this scenario. Has anyone got anything to add to the negative side before I move on to the positives?
I would just piggyback. Listen, Anthony Joshua should be able to do whatever the hell he wants. If it's a 6 round, playing with his food for 6 rounds, he should be able to. If he wants to go in there and finish him in 45 seconds, he should be able to. So we're going to know real fast. We're going to know at the sound of the bell if this thing is rigged or not. They're not going to be able to hide it. There is zero that Jake Paul can do better than Anthony Joshua. We'll all know real fast what the situation is.
Yeah. Okay, then. Is it Bedarian, Jake Paul's agent, manager, whatever he is, business partner? He came out today and said, let's talk about positives here. He said that Jake Paul's got a better chance of beating Anthony Joshua than he would have Tank Davis. Is that a positive, Brett?
These guys,
from Bedarian's point of view,
these guys are brilliant at what they do, and that's what I'm on about. As promoters, to be able to sell a dream, to get a deal with Netflix, all these things that these guys have done, you have to salute and take your hat off to them for that side of it. But this is, like I said, there's no spin. There's no spin on this. There's no spin on this. I mean, ultimately, if he'd have fought a few real boxers leading up to this and said, I want to take on Anthony Joshua, then we'd treat it with a little bit of respect. We'd say, we wouldn't be all sitting here going, what the hell is this? Because we'd be like, fair play to that Jake Paul calling out AJ. He wants to smoke with AJ. No one's thinking that because it doesn't have any legitimacy behind it. So they can sell it or put any positive spins on it all they want. Their side, I know what the positives would be from the AJ side of the world is that can we finally get rid of this clown out of boxing as a professional athlete? Obviously, I'm the same as you, JJ. I love the guy as a promoter. I think he's fantastic at what he does. But there's no positives from their side other than they get more money in the bank.
Okay, then. Blunts and boxing. You've had various opinions about positivity for this fight today, I would imagine. What do you have? If you have one, do you have many? Tell us.
So that's what's interesting about this case. I can't say necessarily there was over the positivity per se was more in the aspect that this is more of a real fight than the Tank fight. That's what the more positivity was pertaining to what's currently going on, and that's about it. Yeah. I think a lot of boxing fans are kind of just in some way a little bit more of the opinion that if this is a circus, at least we're getting a real fight. Mm-hmm. That's the positives. That when you're looking at it, even though, as stated earlier, if things start to look iffy, it really just starts breaking apart. I think it will really, actually, when you look at it, if anything looks iffy, it just completely destroys the character of Jake Paul, who, if you look at it, he's already struggled to maintain a character in the sport of boxing after the Mike Tyson fight. He dropped in pay-per-view sales quite dramatically when he fought Chavez, only, I think, per report, selling less than 100,000 pay-per-views.
Fraction, yeah.
So that's what's interesting. Yeah. We see that maybe that's the decision to make the turn to fight Anthony Joshua to change that dynamic. So it's really interesting. I don't know what the exact positives are for this fight outside of, as stated, it's a real fight, or so we hope.
Yeah. GG, can we assume that this? I mean, after all, Netflix are heavily investing in this past to the tune of $140 million pounds. Sorry, somewhere $180 million. How do we see the recuperate that? Can you? I mean, as far as I'm aware, everybody I know has got Netflix in the UK.
Yeah, I mean,
as a sample. You'd imagine most people have it. The US, I would imagine even more. Mm. Can they bring new eyes, new subscriptions to to, justify this outlay and call it a financial success?
I don't know, man. It's the power of Jake Paul and the stateside, and in the power of AJ, on y'all's side, and it could. I mean, AJ's enormous. Like, people here stateside don't understand how big Anthony Joshua is until they see that video of him next to Floyd Mayweather and everybody ignoring Floyd Mayweather. Anthony Joshua was enormous, so it could bring in the revenue and the viewership that Netflix wants. Look, a positive out of this is, I know you said that nobody's going to respect Anthony Joshua if he knocks him out, but there's a lot of casuals that don't care about that. And there's a lot of casuals who are tired. And I wouldn't even say casuals. Again, just people in the office that you might run into. They're tired of hearing Jake Paul's name. So there's a positive. Let's not forget about the undercards. I don't know who's on it. I don't know if it's still going to be Baumgartner and Layla. I don't know if Gary Antoine Russell's still playing. But look, our sport needs eyeballs to the real talent, on the real talent. So we could see an increase in viewership for Baumgartner, for the ladies. We could see people finally learning who the Russell family is, with Gary Antoine Russell. Immense talent that should be on display. So there's a bright side there too. So say what you want about the main event. It's putting our sport on a platform, and it's up for those people that are on the undercard to do their job with these eyeballs. And maybe we can turn this circus into a damn positive.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard task. Let's swing it back to Blunts. It's going to be held in the state of Florida. They've, obviously they're going to sanction this debacle. Sorry. Well, as we know, they're not the most strictest of states to get a boxing fight sanctioned. I'm worried that this could do more damage to AJ's career than people realize in this situation. Should he lose, what would be the fallout for the positivity of Jake Paul and the detriment of Anthony Joshua? Will it just allow Jake Paul's head to absolutely go to universes we've never been to before?
It kills
in my opinion. So I was going to say, so what it does, if he were to somehow beat Anthony Joshua, I think it pretty much ends the career for Anthony Joshua. He will never have it's retirement time. Enjoy retirement. Because what's going to happen, I would assume, is England may very well just disown him to a degree. The fact that he lost to Jake Paul. For Jake Paul, it very well could actually line him up to a legitimate world title fight. And we see Jake Paul fighting, who knows, Badu Jack, in 2026. I hate to break it to you, but that's a very real possibility.
You're killing neutral, Blunt. You're killing neutral over there, dog.
Killing me, brother.
Hey, listen to
Brett,
this though. Those are great points, Blunt. But I think this goes way past AJ's legacy. If AJ loses, this hurts boxing, dude. This hurts the sport.
Yes,
Paul already.
brother, thank you.
Like, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has already embarrassed the hell out of the entire boxing community with Anderson Silva, but then with Jake Paul. Now, so Jake Paul's got that, a former champion. Do you know what happens to boxing? For all the naysayers, for all the guys that like to say, oh, boxing is a dying sport, can you imagine if one of our recent kings, like baddest man on the planet, just a few years ago, guys, we're not talking about Lennox Lewis or Mike Tyson, just a few years ago, what happens to boxing if a YouTuber comes and signs up for 5 years and knocks off one of our freaking pillars in the last 20 years? It's not just an Anthony Joshua thing. Yeah. This hurts the sport, man.
Yeah, look, we have to do this. Don't we? We have to talk like there's a chance for Jake. I'm telling you now. Listen to me right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. If there is any legitimacy in this fight, he won't even land a punch on him because look, if any of you have ever done a bit, and there's levels to this game. There's levels and levels and levels. You go from being decent in the gym and then somebody walks off the street. They ain't got a chance of touching you. But then you go into another gym as a gym fighter and you can't touch their best guy. And then so it's like a guy that can throw a right hand doesn't mean he's going to land it on AJ. AJ is going to see it. The timing's going to be, he's just going to be like catching the distance,
Easy.
bang, right?
Easy.
It's easy money. So the other theory that I've got on this, how about this? Maybe we come back to this. Maybe I was right. Maybe I was wrong. What about if this is Jake's retirement gig from being a fighter, right? Because he's earning 70 million pounds, right? He's earning 70 million pounds. He dares to be great, you know, the spin, because he's finding it tough to find fighters that he can actually make out he's legitimate. He takes on AJ, gets stunned inside a round, and his press conference afterwards is, I dared to be great with boxing. I took on the former 2-time unified heavyweight champion on the world. I dared to be great. It just wasn't in me to do it. I'm going to concentrate on being the world's best promoter now. And then he's had all those eyes on him through all these things that he's done. Now he uses that platform to go and sign some of the best fighters in the world to be on his label. I don't know.
I like it. I like it. And look at the message you're sending the
I
kids.
like it.
Hey, you put your
like
heart
it.
and you put your mind into something, you can go get it. It's not always going to end up in W's, but you're going to go. I like that.
But you're putting your
like
life into it as well, though. You're putting your life on the line as well in even going for that. You know, I mean, it's a major. You know, as my partner, Jams, my producer here tonight, quite rightly says, devil's advocate. You know, there's method to the madness. I imagine with Jake Paul and his partners and his team. But you know, the method. Could he pull a Fabio Wardley off, coming off the ropes, and then Tyson AJ and like Dubois did, and all of a sudden the right hand comes out of nowhere?
Think about that
I'm
theory.
a conspiracy
Where does he
theorist.
go? Where does he go after this anyway, Jake Paul? Because he legitimately he's going to get knocked out.
Well, he's supposed to be fighting in Ghana in February, and then it was going to be on to because you saw the tweet there today. I'll be back in 2026.
But how do you pull
after this fight?
How do you pull a UFC fighter?
So he's already overlooking.
Yeah, but how do you go after he fights AJ? How does he go and pull somebody out of the wilderness now? How does he go and pull that guy? Because everyone's going to say your last fight was AJ. What? So he's really, but he's the risk for him is who can he pull out after this? Because you're pulling a live
if he
dog.
Wins.
He's still live. AJ's still live, like JJ said. He's still live.
Yeah,
I hear you saying if he wins. It just seems like a joke every time somebody says if he wins. I feel like one of y'all are joking.
Well, listen, crazy. You know, I don't think anything in boxing is 100% at the best of times. But look, you know, positivities are there that there's global eyes on this. It's gonna feed a lot of people in the industry. The fight at the events, you know, sundries, etc. Broadcasters, you know, it produces millions of dollars amongst the people in the background. So for that, you know, is a positivity. If it sets up future fights in America, which I don't know, because like you said, who can he pull in next to fight? You know, he's gone through the three biggest PPV stars in the world in Canelo, Tank, and AJ. What's he going to call out next? Ryan Garcia? Is that going to be next? You know, because could well be. I'll smash the drug cheat up for you. That sort of, you know, scenario, and get people on his side. Blunts, you know. Before we close out the show, we got a few minutes left. Just give me your own personal thoughts on this fight, how it was, conceived, kept from the public until today, announced the way it was, and give me your pros and caveats quickly, you know, in closing, and obviously give us a prediction.
So, in closing, in my opinion, this fight is what it is. And I think it's kind of, there's some writing on the wall pertaining to where Anthony Joshua, his career is maybe headed. I think we may very well be seeing the end of Anthony Joshua and his professional boxing career. And I think this was the first step in showing us that this is what exactly is happening. So it is what it is. Give Anthony Joshua one more payday before retirement, because that's what we all wanted when Tank was taking the Jake Paul fight. If this is what truly is happening, hopefully this is your retirement. And same for Anthony Joshua. If it's come to this point in his career, I think Anthony Joshua will knock him out, and he will, end up being in good graces with the folks in the UK, but also with us Americans, because he did what we've all been waiting for.
Salute, Blunt. Agreed.
GG Sullivan.
I'll wrap it up with this. Look, man, boxing is in a bad place right now. We're hurting. The industry is hurting. And every single one of us are to blame, from the top down to the fans. Every single one of us have contributed. So I say that to say, when we see things like this, it's easy for us old hit. This is a very traditional sport. It's easy for us to get mad and, oh, you're ruining the sanctity of our sport. But we have to understand, guys, we're in uncharted territory here. We're in we have to try new things. Boxing has been so slow to evolve. So we have to be open to what Turkey's doing. We have to be open to what Jake Paul's doing. We are in this situation because we left a giant vulnerability. Blame pay-per-views, blame mismatches, blame whatever you want. We're here now. So I say that, yes, this feels like a circus, but the silver lining is, for one night again, the world will be watching our sport. If everybody comes and does what they're supposed to, from media to fans and the fighters on the undercard, we could possibly turn this into something good. But I would just encourage boxing. Let's just keep trying what we got to do to keep our sport alive, because we're hurting right now, guys.
Thank you, JG there. Spit Bucket podcast guy. Absolutely fantastic. And we'll be make sure we follow all. And make sure you guys in the chat all follow these gentlemen. JG Solomon, Spit Bucket podcast. Blunts and Boxing on X. Follow him. But before we come to my man Brett, thank you to everyone in the chat who's left messages with your thoughts on this. I haven't had time to get through them all. I will do after the show and comment to use afterwards. Thanks very much indeed. But Brett, just before I get you, I'm gonna just say one thing. It's been reported or rumored that AG will be taking 5,000 British fans over to Miami on December the 19th. A, is it true? And B, in your mind, give us your thoughts on what this day's news.
Yeah, the Brits will be there. The Brits will be there. If the Brits follow it, listen, the Brits have gone watching, have a game of Conkers. Like it really don't matter, does it? Like the Brits will get behind it as much as they're slamming it. But I'll jump onto something that JJ said. It got me really thinking about trying new things and pushing forward. I'll tell you this right now: the gyms have never been so full with kids. Right? The gyms have never. I know we're in a bad place right now with the look of the sport. But the gyms have never been so full. I live in Canada, and my local gym, from when they finish school to closing time, is stacked with kids trying to learn the sport of boxing. And you got to be honest, they never came to it watching AJ's 10th fight. They're coming to this, with Jake Paul acting stupid online, and then saying, "Oh, actually, I'm a boxer as well." So whether that's a positive or whatever you want to think, but at the end of the day, that's brought these younger eyes onto the sport. What we now need to do is we need to, you're right, we need to find some legitimacy in what we're doing and get back to that. But unfortunately, we're going to have to ride a few circus acts out, because I can't see there ever being another Jake Paul. I don't think we'll accept it, will we? I think he'll be the one and done from it, surely. And then they'll just stay in their lane in this misfits thing. This will never, none of them will break free like this again, I don't think. But just before I just finish though, but I really have enjoyed this chat, boys, because you know, we could have gone a different way with him. We could have been super negative. We could have been boxing's finished. But we've actually all raised some really good points, and I hope the people in the comments have enjoyed that we're just trying to make sense of this, because actually, when all said and done, none of us actually know what the hell is going on. We don't know if there's a script. We don't know what it is. We don't know if AJ is going to start him in 30 seconds. We don't know. But we're going to keep talking about it.
Absolutely, Brett, and bloody well said. Adam Carroll, let's bring a bit of reality to it. You know, he said, in a proper fight, Anthony Joshua would knock out Jake Paul within 6 minutes. It would be embarrassing if he didn't, because this is a proper fight. When he does, I hope there's no lasting damage. You do not play boxing. Maybe in this case, you do. F around and find out. Now, never a truer saying, you don't play boxing. Having millions of dollars and fighting a few ex-fighters of some various martial art does not give you the right or the inclination to just step into the boxing world. Some will say money talks. Yes, it does. But there's lives at risk. However, in the immortal words, it is what it is. We have it. And it is, as we all have pointed out, we woke up to the news slightly shocked. But having soaked in all and everyone's opinions on social media, there's positives and negatives. And there's, you know, if there's enough positives to take out of this fight and put people in work and put kids in the gyms, because this is not just about our generation. This is about the Jake Paul's generation and younger, and even younger still. Because boxing will survive Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. And we'll be going on to the next evolution in boxing with these circus fights. I think I fear there will be more. But Jake Paul will be around for a few more years yet. And win or lose, he will entice another boxer into a big payday. It's inevitable. Thank you, gentlemen. This edition has AJ sold about boxing. I don't think so. He is a businessman. 258 is his management company. They have to make money. They're a business. You cannot blame Anthony Joshua for taking an obscene amount of money to fight a YouTuber. And he was called out and he accepted. Not many wouldn't. Let's get it straight. It just so happens that Anthony Joshua is a big man with a big right hand, and that could end a man's career, you know, if he's not careful. But however we want to paint it, it's a business rather than a sport. What do you think? Leave your comments in there, your thoughts. Thank you to my guests, all of you tonight, for joining this Hard Talk special with me, Mr. Neutral. And before we go, this program is sponsored by EasyStorage.com for all your local and nationwide needs. And of course, Boxing Fight Zone for all your boxing merchandise and apparel. Go and check them out. Once again, gentlemen, thank you very much. See you soon.
Be blessed.
I'm moving.